right, lesson 6.2. We are estimating with percents. So in 6.1, we were talking about how to turn fractions and decimals into percents and percents into decimals, etc. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at this little chart on page 236 where it gives us the percents and then it gives us fractions. Now this is a good chart to have in your notebook for reference. Okay, because these are quick conversions that you should start to recognize and memorize when you see them. So we have 10%, and that is equal to 1/10. And then we have 20%, which is equal to 1/5. 25%, which is 1/4. Now we're going to bring the rest of them down here, because I wrote too big. 33 1/3% is 1/3. 50% is 1/2. And then they have 66 2/3%, which is 2/3. And for some reason, they don't have 75%, but I'm going to add that. %75 is 3/4. So that's also an important one to know. So you should probably write this down, keep it in your notebook. You can use it later on tests or later in the chapter. But these are percentages and fraction equivalents that you should start to become familiar with and memorize. These should be things that when you see 1/5, you know that's 20%. When you see 1/2, you know that's 50%. 1/3 is 33%. Okay? These should start to become something you memorize, like your times tables. These equivalents should be in your brain. So I'll let you write them down there in your book. So if you need to, you can pause the video, take a minute, and write those down. So what we're going to be doing in this section, this chapter section, is estimating percents. So it says, use a fraction to estimate 48% of 79. So they want us to estimate. Well, we know 48% is really close to what? Well, it's really close to 50%, and 50% is about 1/2. So 48% is about, remember this is the symbol we use when it's not equal, but it's close. Okay, and we know that 50% equals 1/2. Now they give us a number of 79. Well, we're going to round 79 up to 80. So instead of saying 1/2 times 79, we're going to say 1/2 times 80. Well, we should already know what is half of 80. You should be able to get that pretty quickly, and that's going to be about, well, this answer is definitely 40. But you could say 48% of 79 is about 40. Okay, so we're using estimation. So we're rounding both the percentage and the number to get an estimate answer. Now, if you want, you could get a calculator and figure out 48% of 79 to see how close we are. But it's going to be somewhere around 40. So, example number 2, it says Cam Sports is offering 20% off basketballs that cost $19.99. So 20% off $19.99. So, first, we know 20% is what fraction? 20% is equivalent to 1/5. So we're going to find 1/5 of 1999. Now, what are we going to do with this 1999? We could leave it like that, multiply 1/5 by 1999, or we can round it up to 20. So we're going to do 1/5 times 20. Now, why are we going to do that? Because it's a lot easier to do 20 over 5, which equals 4, than it would be to divide 19.99 by 5. So 20% off of 19.99 is going to be about $4. So 20 minus 4, what's the price of the basketballs? They're going to be about $16. Again, you could get a calculator and check your answer. Now, the rest of this question wants you to compare to another store called Hoops Haven. They're selling basketballs for $14.99. Which store has the better deal? Well, this place, even though they're on sale for 20% off, they're still $16. They're still $1 more. So, your better bet is to go to what's called Hoops Haven. Get a basketball there. Okay, they say another way to do this is to find 1% or 10% of a number, and then you just multiply that by whatever percent you are finding. So, okay, so this is, let me show you what they're doing on here. So let's say you have a price like $19.99. Right. And they say, okay, so to find 1% of a number, move the decimal point 2 places to the left. So if we were going to take 1% off, they would basically be taking 20 cents off. Okay. But if you're going to be taking 10% off, you just move it over 1. Well, then that's $1.99, so $2 off. So 10% off is going to be about $18. Okay. Let's try another example to look at that system of doing it. So it says, use 1% or 10% to estimate the percent of each number. So they want 3% of 59. So what we're going to do is we're going to first find 1% of 60. They're going to round this up to 60. So let's find 1% of 60. Well, to find 1%, remember we move our decimal 2 spots to the left. Why would we do that? Well, because 1% is really 0.01. Remember, this would be 1% as a decimal. So if we take 60 and we multiply it by 0.01, you're going to get 60, and you're going to move your decimal point 2 spots to the left. Okay? So without having to do that math, we can just do that. So 1% of 60 is 60 cents. So 3% is going to be 60 cents times 3. So that's going to be 0. That's 18. We move our decimal 1, 2. So $1.80 is 3%. Is about 3% of 59. Okay? So another way you can do, well, let's stick with our estimation. And then I bet the next chapter is going to have you be doing the math. So the next problem we have is 18% of 45. So they want us to use either 1% or 10%. So we're going to use 10% because 18% we're going to round up to 20. So 10% of 45 is about 4.5. Remember, we just moved that decimal one spot. Well, 4.5 times 2, it's going to be 10, 9, it's going to be 9. So about 20% of 45 is 9. Okay, so 18% is going to be a little bit less than that, but we're just estimating. So it's going to be around or about 9. Okay, and they have one more question on here. It says, Eric and Selena spent $25.85 for their meals at a restaurant. About how much would they leave for a 15% tip? So what they want you to do is to round 25.85 to 26. So they want 15% of 26. So first you're going to find the 10%. So 10% of 26 is about 2.6. Okay? And then 5% of 26 is what? Well, is going to be this divided by 2, right? Because 5% is half of 10%. So 2.6 divided by 2. That's a really crooked line. 1, 3. So that's going to be about 1.3. So then what you would do is you would just add those together. So 3.9, probably be best to just tip $4. Okay? Don't count out 90 cents for your waitress. Round it up, give her $4. It's just a much nicer, more even number to work with. All right, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand. If you don't have any questions, you can get started on the assignment, which is going to be 2 through 38 even. And, yep, 2 through 38 even. So, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, get started on your homework.